Hi everyone, welcome to Film Log Update number 20, covering most of the films that I watched and rewatched during January and February 2023. Here we are, back again, and here for another Film Log Update video, and always like doing this, this time talking about the first few months of the year, so always very interesting to hear what you've been watching, and to see as well, remind myself of what I've been doing, because it's always very random, I guess after December being, the rewatch period, and the comfort watches, and obviously the Christmas films, specifically, at least for me. And then, of course, January is kind of usually very random what direction I take. And this time, again, very different to last year of what the direction I took watching films. So yes, as always, laptop in front of me, a very informal video, just going through the films that I want to mention, just a brief talking point on a variety of films, and obviously as well, the favourite first watch of January and February, that will come at the end of the video. So yes, what have you been watching? Obviously, always great to know. We'll say that, and the films that I mention here, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on these as well if you've seen them. So yes, we'll start off with one of the first watches of January this year, and that was Barbarian. So a horror film. I watched a few, 2022 films, in January and stuff, kind of catching up, I guess, on films I didn't get around to, and ones I've heard of and all this, and obviously Justin Long being in this film, that was one of the main kind of draws for me, I guess, and because massive fan actually of Justin Long, doesn't really get too much credit, I feel, and he was just especially the 2000s, loads of films that were just I watched as a kid and really took to, and Barbarian, a horror film that started out and you've got Bill Skarsgård in as well, it's just very nice to see, but he started out very quite investing, I guess, and very intriguing. That was the thing. 40 minutes, and then it kind of took a ridiculous turn, and had its moments after that, I guess, and things to praise. But really, overall, this was an underwhelming film, and I just didn't care for the direction they took, and the way it was kind of handled. The character working there, it didn't really feel didn't make sense to me really at all, and it changed, I guess, its tone, and it wasn't anywhere near as kind of affecting and scary and investing as well. Kind of enjoyable. So it was it was an okay film, I guess, but it was quite disappointing, especially considering I did really like for the most part the first act of the film, and it just kind of went off, and I thought it was really interesting at first, the conversations, but after that, another 2022 film, The Outfit. Of course, Mark Rylance in this film, and this kind of mystery, thriller, kind of gangster film, if you will, period piece. And I wouldn't say too much about this because it's very, I think going blind, kind of thing, unaware of what's going to go on. I didn't know anything about this, and I was really surprised. It was very, very investing film. I really like this one, and I think the performances and just the use of that, kind of mainly one location, really, appreciated, and just the cinematography, the editing, and all this, and just the storytelling. I was very invested, and the final act as well was something that was very interesting what they done, and I really it was certainly a final act where I got a lot from as well. So it didn't kind of completely go off like some films do, and it was a very thoroughly kind of investing film throughout. 4-star film for me, and it was very, very nice to see this film. So yes, next up, Robert Eggers. Watching some of his films here, and yes, from 2019, a film that I'd wanted to see, since it came out, but never got around to it, and that is The Lighthouse. So I was very intrigued to see how I react to this film. Obviously, the cast: Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe as well, these two great actors, and I was really looking forward to this, but was kind of nervous, and I saw The Witch a while back, and I thought it was fine, but it was not a film that kind of blew me away personally, and so I thought we'll see what happens. But for me, The Lighthouse, this really is quite stunning actually. I did. I was just I was taken aback by this film actually, and there was things that could have been better. I think the first kind of 10-15 minutes, it wasn't a one that kind of a lot of modern films do this, but they don't really kind of straight away grab me, and it's very much it could have been better for me. That first, kind of a few sequences there, but once it got going, and it kind of unravelled, its mysteries, and it kind of maintained the mystery feeling, and that kind of sense of wonder. This was a really quite a special film actually, and yeah, it's just so investing. The performances here, but just the atmosphere and I think the quiet nature of this film, but not in a way that is for me boring. It's the one that was constantly investing in the way Robert Eggers directed this film. It really worked for me, and it kept my interest throughout the whole film. And yeah, there's some things that kind of surprised me, a bit random, but overall, this is consistently, just such an investing film, and for me, way better than The Witch, personally, and yeah, it kind of renewed my kind of interest in, in seeing, these kinds of films, I guess, and yeah, Robert Eggers films as well, kind of, it renewed my interest in this director, and again, I liked The Witch, but this one, I really, really liked, loved actually, and yes, a nice surprise. So yes, then finished off with The Northman, of course the film made after The Lighthouse, and one that is quite divisive. For me, it's a bit of a slog, I guess, personally. And it had some things that I just think, it felt really at times, especially the final act, quite drawn out. Maybe that was intentional. It was quite meandering though for me, and it just didn't really come together, this film, too well. But it had its moments, and consistently, I was invested, in this film. The action and the kind of the setting and the way it was shot. Although a bit dull at times, it was definitely very well shot. Just I think investing, and the violence, use of violence was very good as well. But overall, good film, solid film, but it's just one that I would have, I thought I potentially would have liked more. I still, I prefer it to The Witch, I guess, but again, a good film, and then nowhere near as good for me as The Lighthouse personally. So that's the three Robert Eggers films, that I have, my thoughts on. So yeah, it's definitely a very good director, though. Just I think The Lighthouse is the one that I really I most responded to, and I was, mostly invested in throughout the whole film. And these other two films I just don't like as much, but that's just me personally. After that, I saw The Sting. I have it here, 4K. I picked this up obviously recently for my for around Christmas time, actually. Yeah, as a Christmas present. So yes, great to see the 4K. A film that I've been looking forward to for a while. Obviously Robert Redford, Paul Newman in this film. It was one of those films, and it's very, very acclaimed. It's won Best Picture as well. So I guess that's, I try and see all films that I'm interested in, but especially something like that. A classic Best Picture winner. It's definitely one that I also wanted to see for that, and the cast. And I was so hyped for this film. And seeing Cool Hand Luke recently, and different Robert Redford films. Jeremiah Johnson. I thought it'd be great to finally watch this film and see kind of a pairing here, and obviously they were in other films together as well, but this is the first one that I've seen. It's kind of with those two actors together, and yeah, I think unfortunately it was just underwhelming for me. And in the end, I think it wasn't a film that I enjoyed overall. I think the first half of this film, I was invested in, I liked, but then it just kind of took a turn that just I wasn't enjoying personally, and there was a lot of there's a scene, for example, where it's just as well, in this film, it was card shuffling, and it wasn't really, there's films that really can invest me in that kind of thing, and all this. But I think the first few scenes, there was different character in this film that was mainly in that first act that I really thought was brilliant, and I was really invested in the setup. It's a very it's quite bizarre, but in a good way, but just instantly hooked me. I guess, and then it started to confuse me around 20 minutes in, and I was thinking, this is a strange one, where it's going. I thought the first half was kind of alike. It was a fine film, but it was too all over the place for me, really, actually, and just wasn't the most investing of plots, and all different supporting characters that came into it. I wasn't really behind, and yeah, the second half was just not really enjoyable for me, and yeah, overall, I didn't like this film, but I did like the performances. I did like the first the immediate first act, I guess, and yeah, it was definitely very well shot as well. So The Sting, not personally for me, not one of my favourite Best Picture winners. That means obviously, but yeah, a film that I'd recommend seeing, and it was great to finally see the film, and I guess say that I've seen another film with these actors. So it was a disappointment, but I guess that happens. West Side Story by Spielberg, of course, his version, his remake. A film that I look forward to seeing, and certainly a good film for me. It's very impressive. I do prefer the original, but there's some things I like more in this one. I guess as the characters in the original, they're kind of better in some ways, and in this they're also better in some ways. So it's kind of in relation to characters and overall tone. But I think the original really excels in just general cinema. The way I was visually invested, the whole grandeur of it, and the songs. I think were just really I loved in the original, and overall as an experience, as an investing musical, I think the original I do prefer, but this one is very commendable. Spielberg, really delivered in certain areas, once again here, and the performance as well, really nice, and it was just a very kind of. It was quite a warm film, obviously it's a dark tale as well, but it's very very nice to see. I did like this one quite a bit. There's some really good moments in the middle act. That was the standout kind of portion of the film. But yeah, West Side Story, Spielberg's version, really like this one quite a bit. A good film from 2021. So yes, going through Top Gun, rewatching that. Hadn't seen this for over a decade. Saw it a few times as a kid. Being an 80s film, obviously always been a fan of this decade. Just charming films, and some of the, a handful of, some of the absolute greatest films made in this decade. Top Gun is a divisive film. Some people don't like it at all. Rewatching this film, I really like it. I think it's a very charming film, very, kind of bizarre in places, but it's just. I think the first half especially, is really, really pleasing, and just warm, and just magical moments. The soundtrack to the original Top Gun, it's amazing, and I think the dogfights though, and all the stuff, in the kind of jets and all this, is a real issue for me. It's quite confusing in the way it's done, and just it's not as investing as it could have been, I think, and it really lets the film down, unfortunately. The stuff, I guess, in the air, which is one of the main things, obviously, it's about, it does bring the film down, and there's some things as well, the characters that could have been, they kind of went off in the final act. It didn't really come together in some areas. Overall, though, a 4-star film for me, and it's the one that I really do enjoy, and it was great to see it again. I kind of was reminded of the charm of this one. So yes, then shortly after that, I saw Top Gun Maverick. So a very talked about film here, and obviously Tom Cruise is back, and wow, this film is far better for me than the original actually, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought I'd like it, after seeing the original again. I thought, well, we'll see. Yeah, I'd be really interested to see this sequel, obviously, and did not expect it to be this great though. It really was for me a great film, and just as a sequel to one thing that could have been better, the romance and stuff in terms of living up to the I think the original in some regards, but other than that, this one it took loads of elements from the original and built upon them, and as well just the action, the actual kind of stuff in the air. It was so much more investing, and also I think it's even more of a charming film in many regards as well. Just more investing. Really delivered that second half, and it was it's just a stunning film that I loved from start to finish. What a film this is. So yes, next up is quite an unfortunate one. Richard Linklater, one of my favourite directors. He's a genius to me. Someone I always look up to, and it's just a great individual, and Waking Life, I mentioned recently, I have sometimes it's a film where you have in your collection for many years and you grow an attachment to, and then you watch it, and that whole thing of not seeing the film and it kind of being, kind of having a relationship with a Blu-ray is better than actually watching it, and wow, this film is one of those. Unfortunately, I did not enjoy this one at all. In fact, this was, a real letdown, and yeah, it's actually because I do have to do this at times. Just keeping the collection down where I can, and kind of trying to get shelves soon as well. But kind of really prioritizing what I buy now, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I've seen the film, and perhaps I'll buy it at some other point. But I am now in the process of kind of selling this film because it doesn't do anything for me, and I've seen it, and it was it was great to see it finally. But again, it was one of those that I couldn't get anything from, and I thought, what, I'll sell this film, and yeah, help maintain the collection. It won't happen with much films at all, but ones that I'm not. I just can't see myself getting anything from rewatching. Even I had to kind of start selling this film. So yeah, I really I thought this was really insincere, and it's just people talking philosophy, but everything I hate about that kind of that kind of discussion. And just throughout the whole film, just the most meandering in the way it was done, and just just some things. Well, it was really quite nasty in the way it was done, and I just did not enjoy this one at all. It was a real a bad experience, watching this film. So yeah, going off to that though, Michael Powell's Peeping Tom. Now this is a film that I'd heard about for a while, 1960, and so another kind of kind of a similar film if you will, Psycho coming out in that year. But yes, Peeping Tom, really a great film, and very disturbing film. But wow, highly recommend seeing this one if you've not seen it already. And this is just, it really blew me away. Yeah, just I think one of the best films that I've seen for the first time recently. So yes, go in unaware. I think with this one, a stunning thriller, and yes, these are some of the best films all in a row that I saw in January. Of course, RRR. So this wonderful film that of course has been talked about quite a bit, and seeing this with Top Gun Maverick as well, in the same kind of weekend, and wow, it really competes for best first watch of January, and favorite first watch or favorite kind of film of 2022 actually. These are the two ones that were very much competing around this time of when seeing these films. And yes, just the action, the music in this film, the charm, and this is a real epic film obviously, and it's just what an experience this was. Laughing, kind of cheering, kind of the tragedy to this, but just that kind of uplifting feeling to this one. If you're a fan of action films and campy films, and ones that are kind of really larger than life, and kind of ones that really focus on music as well. Cannot recommend this one enough. The production as well. What a glorious film this is, and hats off to everyone involved. So yes, RRR. Then I saw 13 Lives, Ron Howard, another 2022 film. This was a very good film. Very investing. I thought, before seeing it, I thought this could be quite boring if it's done not done well. But Ron Howard, of course, made this investing, and because under the water and so in caves most of the film, but he really made it investing, and just after seeing it, it was definitely an experience emotionally. So yeah, just a very impressive film, very investing, and the cast, Viggo Mortensen, obviously Colin Farrell, massive cast, really delivered this one. So Train to Busan, this is a film that I'd heard about, and I absolutely loved this film. What a pleasing kind of zombie film, of course, but really different to different zombie films and outbreak films, I guess. And it started off could have been a bit better, but once it got going, it was the middle portion of this film, flat out. I absolutely adored it, and it was just the characters teaming up, and just the investment of this, and the wow factor of mostly being on kind of the train and around this. I guess the middle of the film. The entire film really, but wow, love this film, and already looking back on this with fond memories. So yes, going through there, Saint Maud, wasn't a big fan of this. It was okay. There we go. So next up is a film that I've been looking forward to seeing for a while. A remake, of course, of Suspiria. So by Luca Guadagnino. Yeah, and I did really enjoy the original. So I was very interested to see what this director would do with this, kind of take on this film. And unfortunately, wow, talk about a film that kind of pales in comparison to the original, but in itself, this is one of my least favorite films. Horror films, especially. Wow, I just did not respond to this at all. Everything this film done in terms of the body horror, even and the atmosphere, the lighting, the location, use of location, the characters, the kind of just the tone, the music, everything about this film, was something that I just hated. Unfortunately, I really it done everything that I didn't like, and it kept going, and it was very drawn out, and it was just one of the most unbearable experiences, unfortunately, of recent memory in terms of film. It's a real shame, but I really like the original, and it makes it even more kind of frustrating to kind of see this film. And wow, that film, really, the original was just in every way just such an interesting film, unique, but it's investing, and it's kind of, it has a charm to it. This was completely lifeless, and devoid of any charm for me. So Suspiria, the remake, was not a film that I enjoyed. Next up, The Handmaiden by Park Chan-wook. Now, this is a film that I really did enjoy. I think the first half, interestingly though, was one that I really was highly invested in, and then it did unfortunately go off in different directions, and it was a very very non-linear film. But in the way it was kind of at times it was up and then it was down in terms of my investment. Definitely I prefer Old Boy, but I think this is very commendable, and it's certainly the first half I was very invested in, and it's a very it's quite a kind of a lovely film really, but it's very dark as well. So there's some moments in there, even though it starts out very much more pleasant, it does take a dark turn, and perhaps for me a bit too dark in certain areas. But yeah, overall, a very commendable film, one that I enjoyed. So yes, The Handmaiden, wonderfully shot as well. Just another highly impressive Park Chan-wook film. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, rewatching that. I love the film, obviously. It's talked about this many times. The Decision to Leave, another Park Chan-wook film, a very recent film. Wasn't a big fan of this one. It was, I guess, I was in for perhaps, being that, because, being a kind of detective film, sometimes, especially the modern ones, not my favourite, kind of types of films, just for me, it's not my favourite area, can be quite meandering, and, kind of, just about, the mundane nature of, the case and all this, which I get, but just, once again, it was just one of those that, it started off a bit better actually than the rest of the film, but overall it was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was, but just not one of my favourites. Not really the film that's really for me in terms of the one I was mad about. Then we have Apollo 10.5. Once again, another Richard Linklater film. So a recent film again by Linklater, Apollo 10.5, and this is a film though that I did love. So. Wow, what a film. Some things that didn't work perfectly for me in terms of the actual the space stuff, I guess, that kind of thread. But overall, what a nostalgic film, wonderfully told, love the animation, and just such a nostalgic, pleasing film. Watch the film and see what you think, but I absolutely loved it, I really did. Then a film I didn't love, End of Watch. It was a fine film, an okay film, but the characters were too unlikable for me. Jay Gyllenhaal, Michael Pena, so great cast here. Frank Grillo as well, but it didn't. It was just too unlikable. The characters, I couldn't really get behind them fully, and then the villains as well were just so one note and quite irritating that it was okay. It was quite investing at first, especially, but it. Not one of my favourites again. And next up is Operation Petticoat, of course by Blake Edwards from '59, so very much one of his early works, one of his first few films, obviously before the Pink Panther films and all the ones that made him famous, The Party and all these. So it was very interesting to see this. I got this as a present from my brother, and just kind of a New Year present, and we're both very intrigued to see this film. Blake Edwards, obviously a massive fan, and Cary Grant, Tony Curtis in this film. So the same year as North by Northwest, for Cary Grant, and just instantly kind of seeing that personally, the kind of the investment levels. One film he was just at the top of his game, his best performance, and just so him and Hitchcock working so well together in that film, just bringing out the absolute most charming Hitchcock character and film experience. And this film, it seemed like it wasn't one of the roles that he was really kind of mad about. I just wasn't as invested in this film, in that sense. The performances, and overall as the film goes on, it's quite plodding. It's a film that I wasn't kind of thinking this will be perhaps the kind of a shot in the dark. And I guess it was nice to go and just see a film, an early work from Blake Edwards that hasn't been talked about really. It's quite obscure actually, this one. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it to an extent overall. I think it was a fun film to watch. Pleasant. It was quite charming. Tony Curtis, I think, was definitely the standout here. But there was so many things in this film that I didn't really appreciate, and it just wasn't that funny. I just, it's definitely quite, it felt quite drawn out. It's certainly quite, needing some coffee for this one. But an okay film that I did appreciate. I liked the slapstick, and just the use of the novelty of seeing the submarine type film. Blake Edwards, of course. So I think the first half was better. Quite charming for me. I thought this was quite enjoyable, and it wasn't as good in the second half, but it was an okay film. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend seeing it. This is not a bad film for me, but yeah, it's definitely not one of my favourites personally from Blake Edwards. But seeing this was quite a novelty. Seeing this, a very Harold and Kumar Christmas. Seeing this quite a bit into January, obviously. But yeah, a really enjoyable film. The worst of the three of this trilogy. But once again, I'm finding myself liking this more than a lot of people. It seems. It's just quite a pleasing film, and Danny Trejo in this film as well. It was quite funny, and just a funny film. It went a bit too far at times, and the CGI and stuff. The use of that was just what was going on there. But yeah, it was a funny film and nice to see. Of course, Doctor Strange. Obviously, has been going on the channel, rewatching a lot of the MCUs, and just that brings to attention, my thoughts on the current phase of the MCU. But we'll get to that. But yes, Doctor Strange has grown on me. It's now, a 4-star film. It was always a 3.5 for me. Now it's definitely grown on me. I really like this film. It's way more investing this time round, seeing it. It's definitely not one of my favourites in the MCU. But the first 3 phases, I absolutely loved. So it was hard to compete, but definitely a really good, or a good film with a really good first half actually. And it was let down a bit, but the second half. But definitely one that kind of is nice to see, and a very commendable film. So next up we have The Disaster Artist. Once again, seeing this, I can't get enough of this one. Absolutely love it, and I've talked about this before, obviously. So yes, Knives Out, rewatching this by Ryan Johnson, and this one growing on me once again even more. Loved it the first time round, thought it was great, and even more so this time. So just, what a nice surprise, seeing this first time, kind of this unique and kind of classic, feeling for the most part, obviously, thriller film with some, stuff in there, that's quite modern, but mainly it's just, a classic focused on the details, whodunit film, and it has that, real classic, if you will, Hitchcockian feeling at times, and love this film. The characters, kind of the case that we have in this film, and just the location, everything about this film really I love. And seeing shortly after that, obviously Glass Onion, one that I kind of before seeing that, I thought I'd rewatch Knives Out. I was gonna anyway, but yes, Glass Onion, really is obviously I'll call it by that. That's what the intended title. Just that's a shame that it had to be called something different. But yes, Glass Onion, very very good film. What a pleasing one, once again, and very different. And it's quite commendable to go, completely different feeling, location, all this to the first film, and still feel, quite special in places. So yes, very good. Not as good as Knives Out for me, but you know, really investing. And obviously Daniel Craig once again, who's going to be, you know, in these films, you know, just different cases each time. I think that's brilliant. Love the character, of course. And yeah, Benoit Blanc, you know, just great to see this film. Really funny. So yes, and highly investing. Little Women by Greta Gerwig. I like this film. It's quite pleasant and nostalgic. It wasn't, you know, kind of ultra investing for me. It was fine, but you know, definitely very nice to see and commendable film. So yeah, obviously seeing Lady Bird recently, so you know, been interested to see more from this director. So yes, it was a good film, definitely. Mandy, yeah. So Nicolas Cage films that I've not seen, hadn't seen until this. Pig as well. I saw that the day after, and Pig was better than Mandy. Wasn't a fan of Mandy actually, and you know, it's always baffled me. You know, I personally think Nicolas Cage, you know, the comeback, you know, for Nicolas Cage, I didn't really think he needed a comeback. You know, I've always enjoyed his films. Always been a fan of this guy, and to say that he, you know, it was a comeback, you know, sometimes that can be a bit, you know, it's obviously subjective, I guess. But you know, I was always behind Nick Cage, you know, thinking he's a great actor. You know, he's actually one of my favourites in many regards, actors actually, and yeah, I don't think he gets enough credit. This was considered the comeback, but this is actually the only one that I didn't really take to as a film. He definitely elevated it, but I wasn't, you know, a fan of this one actually. But yes, Pig was definitely a lot better. It's quite a commendable one, quite investing. Not I don't like Pig as much as some, but you know, definitely it was a nice film to see. You know, quite you know, refreshing, I guess, and yeah, it was a very good performance once again from Nick Cage. Just like Mandy, you know, he's always good. But Pig was definitely more investing to me personally. It was quite interesting what it was doing. What it had to say as well. So yeah, Pig was definitely better. And Enemy, Denis Villeneuve. Definitely personally, you know, this is one that I was so hyped for actually, because I've seen a few, you know, kind of under the radar Jake Gyllenhaal films, and you know, seeing Denis Villeneuve making this film, obviously it's been talked about, but not too much. So I thought, we'll see what this is like. Started out, I was kind of like, wow, this is quite investing. You know, really good actually at times, and then it did take a bit of a ridiculous turn. I guess it's one of those films for me that just didn't. I couldn't take it seriously, and you know, kind of taking a really interesting idea that can be done, you know, poorly, but it wasn't at first, and then it was kind of like oh yeah, so that's where it ends up kind of thing. And I didn't you know, I wasn't, you know, kind of satisfied, I guess, with the way this went and turned out, but definitely, you know, an enjoyable film overall. You know, it was quite bizarre at times in good ways in the second half, but in other ways, you know, it was just a bit, you know, I couldn't really take it. I wasn't as invested either. But yeah, no, it's definitely a film I recommend seeing. Hard Labour, you know, kind of a play film from Mike Leigh, from, you know, one of his early works. Well, yeah, I wasn't a fan of this really. It was a film that I saw and I thought, did I like it? Did I enjoy this film? You know, it was more of an interesting one to see. It wasn't really for me, but it was interesting to see, you know, another Mike Leigh film, obviously, that I hadn't seen, and I enjoyed elements of this for sure. You know, so it was one that I could take stuff from and, you know, get enjoyment from. But overall, it just wasn't really an enjoyable film, pleasant one, or one that I kind of was that invested in. But you know, definitely one that I recommend checking out. Hard Labour from '73. Next up, David Cronenberg's The Fly. I saw this many times as a kid. Was obsessed with this one, and for me, this could be the best David Cronenberg film. It's really always been that one that I've had in the back of my mind as my favourite, and seeing it again, you know, this is just absolutely stunning. This is, wow, what a film this is, and obviously Jeff Goldblum, obviously Gene Davis, both exceptional in this film, and this is one of the best, if not the best, Jeff Goldblum performance. But then again, Jurassic Park. The Jurassic Park fan in me says that even though it's not as obviously one that he kind of was more giving a more emotional performance, Obviously, I think perhaps Jurassic Park. Yeah, Jurassic Park could be more just one that I enjoy more. Just because the comedy aspect of that, and one of my favourite characters in the film. That character there. So, but The Fly is one of the best performances as well. Absolutely love this film. Taxi. This is a film that I don't really remember too much about now, but I didn't enjoy this one. That's what I'll say there. A '90s film that I was looking forward to. Hopefully, I was thinking this can't be a one that I dislike really. Just hearing about this and looking at it, but I didn't enjoy this one. It wasn't very investing for me. Rewatching then after that, Suspicion. Obviously, a Hitchcock film that I'd seen before, and I think this has grown on me a bit more this time round. And yeah, definitely a good solid film. That it's not one of my favourites from Hitchcock, but again, it's definitely one that I enjoy. Cary Grant, is so good in this film, and that's the best thing about this is the character, the intrigue, and the performance, of Cary Grant, and how it's centered around that. So going unaware, I guess, really, really interesting film, a good film, definitely, for sure. There, Bones and All, what to say about this film? Just I may be talking. I maybe just it's just not for me. This kind of whole it was an okay film, but the whole kind of I guess vampire is vampire films. Obviously, I do enjoy at times, but this whole kind of cannibalistic kind of trend or genre films subgenre I don't really think especially when this isn't really villainizing that some people disagree, but just how I can't personally fully get behind characters when they're doing this really, and as a film it's definitely one that I took a lot from, and the performances Mark Rylance again is in this film. He's everywhere, and it's great to see. I'm always cherish performance by this actor. So it's great to see Mark Rylance. But yeah, just it's quite gross. This film. It made me physically sick nearly. This one, and it's just I just have a thing, obviously, where it really is one of the things that actually makes me feel quite sick. Seeing this in film if it's done like this, and again, yeah, it was a film that how could I really get behind this fully, and in the second half it was quite meandering as well, but yeah, it was quite a hard watch for me, I guess. It's not for everyone, obviously. This type of film, and I commend the direction and the way it's shot, and the performances. As a work of art, I do commend this one. But thinking on it, it really was quite sickening the way it was. It's just really hard to watch for me, and again, these are the protagonists, and I couldn't really fully get behind them. It's just. Yeah, just for my liking, it was a bit of a hard one to get through at times, and luckily the second half wasn't as gross, but it wasn't as investing at the same time. So it was an okay film, but not one that I was big on. Bones and All. So again, that's just me. But I don't really. Yeah, it's just a strange one to see a film like this. But yeah, I guess everyone reacts. You're meant to react to a film like that, in kind of your own kind of way, and it will obviously it will kind of disgust some people, and it will get you talking, I guess. So, yeah, it's just one of those films. Mank, next up, David Fincher. I love Citizen Kane, obviously. Obviously, if you're a fan of my channel, you'll know I'm obsessed with classic cinema. So I was very interested in seeing this, but this is a film I did not enjoy. The worst David Fincher film for me, and it's just I didn't like it at all, really. So there we go, Mank. Obviously about the making of part of the making of obviously Citizen Kane, the writing of this, and about the actual writer. His the main writer. His life up to this. So I was very intrigued to see this, but it didn't do anything for me, unfortunately, as a film. Contagion. As an okay film, it definitely could have been better, but yeah, it was interesting to watch. Hit the Road, a very nice film. The first half, highly investing. Second half, not so much, but it was really just a comforting film, a road film that I did enjoy and would recommend. So yes, going through The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, another Nicolas Cage film. This one I really enjoyed. It was hilarious with Pedro Pascal and Nicolas Cage, but playing multiple Cages in this film, and just see the film if you've not already. It's quite hilarious, and could have been better for me, but definitely really funny film, and yeah, it's quite cool to see him, a self-aware film, about so Nick Cage kind of being aware of him being an actor and kind of responding to that was hilarious. So yes, an enjoyable film, good film. Then we have go through some After Yang. Wasn't a fan of that. It was quite forgettable actually. I don't really remember that too much already. Hall Pass. I saw this around the time it came out. It's just seeing again. Yeah, really funny film actually. Really funny comedy. Not too popular, but I do enjoy it, and Owen Wilson is hilarious in this film, and Jason Sudeikis as well. Yeah, it's a really just a comforting film. Mental kind of idea, but it works as a comedy, a silly comedy, and then we have After Sun. This film is stunning, and it took about 10-15 minutes for me to really see where it was going and get invested in, but the rest of the film really, for the most part, I absolutely loved. So highly recommend seeing this, again, going unaware, but yeah, definitely one of the best films I've seen in recent years actually. So good. For me, for the last few years of cinema, it has not been my favourite, my least favourite, 2020, 2021 and 2022, but there's some standout gems, and this is one of them for me, so yes, really appreciate that. Next up is Waiting with Justin Long and Ryan Reynolds, and Louis Guzman as well. Massive cast here, and this kind of nostalgic, quite gross out at times, a bit too far. Comedy film from the 2000s. It's definitely a film I enjoyed, but one that could have been better as well. But yeah, it was a fine film. Definitely some gross out moments and things that wasn't to my liking. But overall, yeah, it was a funny film, and it was definitely investing as well. And just mainly around this diner, set around this diner, and it was definitely a one that I got quite a lot from, and it was quite a journey of the characters and stuff, and yeah, it's definitely a memorable film. Going from that, we have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. So a very recent film. Obviously, two Pinocchio films came out in the same year, but yeah, this one obviously is the one that people are saying is it's really good, and I did really enjoy this one. I really commend Del Toro for making this film. It's so much passion, work went into this. Wow. This is quite something. I heard the shooting of this was, just it's some time that they kind of took continuously really to kind of shoot this, and it's just so, it looks so good. It just it's a lovely, unique, charming film take on this story, and it's very, very different to, for example, the Disney one, and yeah, just his own take on this, which I'm obviously open to. No, I'm not a fan of these Disney kind of remakes, but I knew this would be something entirely different and sincere, so that's the thing, and that's the difference why I don't praise a lot of these Disney ones, but this one I do commend, and it's very investing, and it doesn't feel pointless like these Disney ones for me are. I've just lost a lot of respect for kind of that idea of there's no need for me personally to be making all those films, remaking them, but this is a director who is sincere and is just putting his own personal take on this, and I really enjoyed this one. I loved the final act and just early moments as well. So hats off to Del Toro. Lovely film, and really it's really quite moving, obviously, as well. Next up, I saw a very talked about film, The Banshees of Inisherin, of course, Martin McDonagh, a director who I'm a big fan of now. I've seen obviously in Bruges. I've seen Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards, and now this film as well. So for me, this is a very, very good film. But it's just for my liking. The second half, I won't get into spoilers or anything, but it's really, really dark, and this will stay with me for a while. But I can't say I loved the second half, or especially the final act. It was just too much for me, and I think it was great at first. Actually, in the first half, the world building was stunning. That kind of lost its sense, I think, in the second half as well. Very good film. Not my favourite from this director, but performances. Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, as always, both stunning, and it was great to see. Great to see this film. It's just a bit bit haunting for me, and a bit too graphic, and it really got to me. So yeah, Barry Keoghan as well, absolutely stand out once again. This great actor, really is. I can't wait to see more and more films with this actor, and just a very unique film, highly original film, obviously. One that I did really enjoy, and was very investing overall. Just I think the first half was flat out great really for me. So yes, definitely a film that I really enjoyed. Deadpool 2. Nowhere near as good as the first, but very enjoyable film. I think it could have been better. The final act was a bit of a letdown. What was going on there? Really, it was too fine. It took away from the investment there. But definitely a very enjoyable film overall. Very funny. So yes. Next up, All Quiet on the Western Front, the recent version, of course, the German film. Really enjoyed this one, especially I think the second half is when it really got way more investing, and it's just some great kind of moments in this film, and a very good film overall. I really was invested by this film, and once again a really impressive and commendable kind of passionate war film of recent years. Just highly recommend seeing that one from 2022. Once again, very investing. Then we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Of course, once again, another kind of MCU film. Now, the MCU for me, what can I say? It's very sad. I think because for me, I'll finally comment on it. Of course, for me, every film out there, is cinema. Of course, so. There's that. I was always a defender of the MCU. I thought it was quite bizarre, personally, and just immature. In those instances, all different filmmakers, famous people calling out the MCU for not being proper films. Ridiculous. Any film, whether it be low budget, student film or big budget film, is cinema. No matter if I hate a film, it's still film. So. There's that. I was always a defender of the first few phases as well, first three. I enjoyed every single one of those films, but now it's getting to the point where I'm a bit, I am actually as well as a massive fan of the MCU. I'm very disappointed actually now. So, For Love and Thunder, it had its moments that I really enjoyed, but overall that was a letdown. It just didn't feel quite the same. Doctor Strange 2. That was even more of a letdown. Was not a big fan of that one. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I loved the tributes to the legendary Chadwick Boseman. I did it. Obviously, I knew the film wouldn't all be that, so I thought it'd be interesting to see the kind of plot that they could kind of weave in there. It's a longer MCU obviously as well, so I thought it'd be very interesting to see what they do with the world. Will they expand the world? What will they do with that? Chadwick, I thought it was, hats off to everyone involved for the tributes. 15 minutes of the film I really, really enjoyed. Unfortunately, the rest of the film, there wasn't, kind of focusing on that, and kind of, I do, Angela Bassett though, really, really good in this film, but, not one of the central, characters in this. So the actual plot they brought in, the villains, all the stuff that was going on, the action in this film, I wasn't a fan of. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy this film overall. It was just boring to me, and that's the thing that I've, it's not just that, the shows as well. A quick mention on that. I'm really not a fan of this whole direction. Of just, and the CGI in Black Panther and a few of the latest ones. Ant-Man, Quantumania. I've not seen that, but I hear it's even worse CGI, and I just think, what is going on? Whether it's a kind of a budget thing, you hear conflicting reports, but obviously you're trying to balance out the shows and the films, the budget there, but it's the action in this film, Black Panther, was just not immersive for me. The CGI was, it was unbelievable, really. Yeah, same with a few of these latest films. But yes, the shows, I originally, I won't ramble here, but originally, I kind of, I was so before seeing the MCU, when they were just coming out, I'd heard different things about them. I was thinking, so obviously I'd heard this was coming, but what are they? And that was just literally as it started. So I didn't know what they were. A lot of people weren't kind of knowing what to expect. I'm not someone who personally was a kid and read loads of comic books. I did now and then, and I did, it's quite cool. But I never had the money to collect, a mass amount, and just it was more films and games and stuff that I immersed myself in, obsessed over as a kid, not comic books. So I thought, going in before they were kind of, or as they were first releasing, I thought, is it for me? Is it going to be a thing that welcomes me? Do I have to be a massive comic book fan or knowledgeable, kind of individual of comic books? And then I was pleasantly surprised watching films like Iron Man, The Avengers, that it wasn't. It was a universe that I could, go into and just focus on, the films and get pretty much everything from them and know everything that's going on and just get all the emotions. And I thought, wow, what a great way to kind of make it accessible. I guess, it's great if you are a comic book collector and all this, but I just wasn't someone who could keep up with that. So it's great, the MCU started out, as this kind of universal thing, but now the shows are coming out left, right, and centre. And regardless of the fact that I didn't enjoy WandaVision, and I didn't enjoy it so far, still not kind of got through it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, to my surprise, I've not been enjoying that. So I'm not going to watch all the shows, even if I did enjoy those two shows there. I wouldn't personally for time. I never do for all loads of TV shows. People say, "Have you watched this and watched that?" I've never got the time, or interest to kind of go through loads and loads of shows every year. So now we're getting to the point where the MCU films are kind of relying on you watching at times, actually, unfortunately, all of the shows and getting all the stuff from that. So it's kind of frustrating. I'm not as invested in the films, and even kind of the knowledge needed to go in is actually kind of lacking as well. So it's even less accessible for me than it started out. And then I'm not really as big on the direction they're going. A lot of the films are quite bland, unengaging now, just boring and just quite dull. Yeah, just so I want the MCU to return to the first three phases. Obviously, Phase 4 is now done. We have Phase 5, and I hear, from what I gather, it's not off to a great start. But hopefully, hopefully I can kind of, really get behind it again, because Phase 4 started out, pretty amazing actually. Eternals for me, I loved. Really got behind that one. Shang-Chi again for me, I loved, and No Way Home was probably the best of Phase 4, and that was amazing as well. But then it started to really take a shift, and again, just the whole nature of the shows and the films. Really, in the last few months, I can now say that if it goes in this direction, I'm nowhere near as much of a fan, and someone who I don't want to say I've lost interest and kind of I'm not caring too much anymore. But that's the honest answer. I think I'm just not. And that I was an obsessed fan. Seeing Endgame, that was just such an experience. I absolutely love that film. I personally, think that's a real stunning film, and then so I was open to all these next few phases. But wow, it's really took a shift, and you could say overnight, kind of I've lost my passion, but I want it to return to that. I have the hope in those involved. But I guess a lot of franchises now, yes, everywhere, just kind of going downhill for me and taking different directions, just not as investing, and yeah, a little bit of a ramble there about the MCU, but wow, what a shame for me. A massive fan. Always kind of seeing the great stuff in these films, and loving the characters and the universe and the feeling, charming films that, quite frankly, a lot of these films like the Avengers feeling like 80s films, bringing about that magic feeling that so many films now are lacking for me. Blockbusters especially, quite dull, just the MCU was always that kind of space where I could go and get the kind of charm and the magic and just the enjoyability and the storytelling, clear, concise, and just fun, really fun. But now it's not fun, and it's kind of going in a certain direction. Then what a shame. But hopefully, it was important to say. Quite depressing. But hopefully they can return to it, and I have a bit of hope, and faith in those involved that we can kind of go back to that kind of the glory days. But who knows? I can't predict. But again, really, really kind of gone downhill for me, the MCU, and it's getting to the point now where, I've just lost a lot of interest in this current set of films. I've seen the outlook and the planned films, and there's only maybe one or two that I'm really hyped for. Obviously, Guardians, can't wait to see that, but that's one of the only ones for the next few years that I'm really hyped for. Yes, Bullet Train. This was an enjoyable one though. Going from that, Bullet Train with Brad Pitt, an enjoyable film. Obviously, Aaron Taylor Johnson as well. Quite an array of actors here that I really enjoy, and it was an enjoyable film. It was definitely it's a divisive film. I don't dislike this one at all. I did really enjoy it at times, and it was fine. It was a fine watch. I didn't love this one, but definitely interesting to see. Crimes of the Future. This is quite a panned film. It's very unpopular. And I really hated this film. Unfortunately, obviously, David Cronenberg coming back after quite a few years of not really making films, and so it was interesting to see this. And his return to traditional or pure horror film, obviously, filmmaking, and it was definitely my least favourite. I didn't enjoy anything about this one at all. If it was it's just it's a real, for me, it was personally a misfire, and it just everything again this one done I hated really. It's a real shame. Even the opening sequence, I thought that was really, I didn't like the way that was done, and from then it was just constantly just boring to me and just unpleasant. I found it quite just insincere personally. But I obviously commend Vigo and all the taking on this different project, but it just didn't work for me at all whatsoever. So here we go. Crimes of the Future. I certainly hated it. Black Swan, Darren Aronofsky, of course, Natalie Portman starring in this film. Finally got around to it and was very impressed by this film. It was great to see a film, going back just a mid-decade really or so. Because I'm really disappointed with a lot of these last few years of cinema. It's just really not for me as much, and it was great to once again see a film that's operatic in this nature and investing from the get-go, getting you in the action, but not kind of a one that's basically very graceful, and operatic, but it's also quite gritty in places. The use of handheld kind of getting in there, close up. I really like that combination that Aronofsky does, in, for example, The Wrestler as well. A really great filmmaker, and Black Swan, very commendable. Loved elements of this, and a very good film overall. Black Swan. Finally seeing it, and really, really enjoyed this one, and it was great to see a film like this. In the Tall Grass, a Stephen King adaptation that I did not enjoy. There was moments I liked for kind of the campiness of it, but overall it wasn't very investing overall, and just drawn out. No Time to Die, of course, behind me. So seeing this film finally again, I had to leave it. I guess the gap, because it was one that I really kind of traumatic experience when I saw that at cinema, and the outcome of that film. Obviously, what a film this is! Not in the masterpiece status, but a one that can spark many conversations for so long. Because it's so frustrating for so many people. There's endless discussions of this film. It's so bizarre. Just a kind of mix and match kind of way this seems to be made, which I hear is the case of that. Just taking different things and piecing them, and just in that sense, it's so bizarre for being a Bond film. I didn't like this, unfortunately, quite as much as I did in many regards. Other ways, I've kind of come to terms with things, or obviously, no, I've not accepted them, but it's not a shock anymore. for example. But yeah, seeing this again, there's some things I can put my finger on now why I didn't really take them too much. So a review will come soon ish, but it's a one that, yeah, it's a real it's so frustrating for me, this one. On one hand, I really like a lot of the stuff going on and the characters and performances. At times, Lashana Lynch, and seeing all the newcomers there, obviously, and it's seeing the MI6 members returning, but then you've got Safin, a newcomer as well. Who, we'll get to that. But yeah, No Time to Die, a really frustrating film. And obviously, when are we going to get another Bond film? Who knows? Perhaps I'll go back to discussing those things on the channel. But for now, I'm a bit, dismayed with this as well. This franchise, just waiting on stuff to come, and what a way, to kind of celebrate, this anniversary. Just everything, the game. When is that coming? Other kind of areas of the Bond universe, what's going on, and just I need some information on the films, really, and we're not getting that. As Bond fans, we're not getting anything really at all at the moment. When is the film coming? We haven't even started getting the casting done. That's the stuff we're hearing. So it's quite depressing. But we waited, between Spectre and No Time to Die, 6 years. So it's kind of been in limbo, the franchise, recently, which is a shame. I look forward to when it comes back, but hopefully, personally for me, it doesn't go into TV territory and start all that, spin-offs and left, right, and centre like the MCU, because I really don't want that. I'd rather wait for films than get it all at once, kind of thing. I personally think TV shows and what they're doing now, specifically, is hurting a lot of franchises. And just. It's losing the kind of magic, the mystery of these franchises. Next up, I saw Top Secret, the Zucker brothers, Jim Abrahams, making this film, quite unheard of film, Top Secret. After Airplane, though, so was intrigued to see this. Wasn't a fan personally, just wasn't a funny film, and the usual stuff that they do wasn't present. It was a bit of a. That was unfortunate, but again, it's just the way it is. It wasn't an enjoyable film. It started out kind of funny, but after that, it wasn't a funny film for me. The final film of the month was rewatching Isle of Dogs, and I'll say as well, a couple of days into March, I saw The French Dispatch. I'll say my thoughts on that now, but Isle of Dogs is an okay film, I guess. Perhaps I will adjust the rating. It's definitely a lower rating than I gave it originally on my review. But it's an okay film. It's definitely one that I do enjoy. It's got its charming moments, and character interactions, and the animation obviously is to praise. So Wes Anderson, it's hard for him to make a film that I don't appreciate. Most of them I love. We'll say that. However, The French Dispatch, for me. We'll say it now, and I won't be reviewing this film, I don't think, because I don't really have much positive things to say. This was the only one that I didn't like. You have different three acts, really, of different stories, and then it kind of does some different things. But the first one I wasn't big on, and I thought perhaps the next one I'll be a fan of. For me, it got progressively worse, really, as the film went on, for the most part. The final one, that story there, I really didn't enjoy at all. Yeah, The French Dispatch for me, it's just an unfortunate one. That it's just I didn't enjoy this one. It was boring to me. Didn't like the characters. They weren't interesting and compelling. And there was a lot of characters as always. Massive cast of yes, it's hard to believe sometimes you have all these. You're kind of spoiled for actors, in these films. But then, unfortunately, despite all that and the genius of Wes Anderson, this one just didn't work for me. Wasn't enjoyable. Wasn't investing, and just wasn't very pleasant either to watch. There was no charm. There was no Wes Anderson charm personally for me that I always get. Even in my least favourite ones, there's always a charm to them. I do enjoy all those other films and love most of them. Quite a few masterpieces. He's one of my favourite directors. Of the century, and going back a bit further than that, and Rushmore and stuff. Absolutely love this director. But The French Dispatch for me was one I did enjoy. So again, I probably won't review that film, but it will be included in the ranking that I plan on doing as soon as I can, I'll get up a ranking at some point soon. So yes, that's it for now. And now we come to the favourite first watches of January and February. And for me, January was between two films, as I say, RRR and Top Gun Maverick, obviously there. And I had to force myself. I didn't want another joint placement. It could have been on another day if I'd waited. It could have been this film here. But for me, I just had to think what pips it over the edge, what kind of pushes it into my favourite. I just went with Tom Cruise. Nice. Top Gun Maverick for January. It's just that, and because it's a sequel that really blew me away and kind of built on that film that I've always liked. The charm of that. And yeah, Top Gun Maverick for me, it slightly beat out RRR, and yeah, as my favourite of January. What a film this is! Just an action blockbuster that really once again gives me hope for these kinds of films going forward. And I don't think one film can save cinema, in that sense, but it's certainly one of those films that saved my passion and kind of hope for blockbusters. Personally, because a lot of them are just last couple of years just for me. Nothing before that. Just last few years really waning and disappointing me. So. Yeah, Top Gun Maverick absolutely blew me away, and that was January. And for February, it had to be After Sun, of course. Charlotte Wells directing this film, and this one really blew me away, but very gradually. As I say, the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of this film, I was unsure of where it'd go, and I was thinking it'd be, I wasn't really getting. I guess that was intentional, but yeah, getting really. Attached to the kind of characters, where it would go, where's this going to take me, kind of thing, and how's it hooked me in. But it was, I guess, I was kind of repositioning myself and really try to penetrate the film, I guess, as a viewer, and that led me to even more being instantly kind of I guess it really starts to open up after that very, very rapidly, and then I was kind of like pleasantly surprised, and I thought the rest of the film, I absolutely loved it. So it was just mainly the first 10 minutes or so I wasn't huge on, but the rest of the film, it's just unforgettable experience. It's kind of like a dream. That's the way it's made. Very nostalgic film. Obviously, it has its dark moments and undertones, obviously, and themes. So it is that very complex experience, but. The dreamlike nature of this, and the charm, and just the kind of relatability of this, it really was a lovely film, and wow, just what a way this was made. The direction is really stunning, and just the writing, and just just really such a human film, and highly recommend seeing this, After Sun. I personally absolutely love the film, and just one of my absolute favourites as well of 2022. After Sun, a great film for me, and that was my favourite first watch of February. So, Top Gun Maverick and After Sun, two great films watching in January and February. So yes, that's it for now. What do you think of these films? Have you seen them? If you've not, it's okay. But what do you think? You can leave your thoughts on as many films as you want, and also, more importantly, what did you watch? It'd be great to interact in the comments. What do you watch over this time recently? Anything you want to talk about, and favourite first watches, rewatches recently as well. Always great to hear in the comments. So yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.